Welcome to the CEN show, where the people's voice is valued and informative. I am your host, Rasaki Maskani. The Community Education Network.com is a platform designed to aid the effort of self and collective improvement. In your investigative and spare time, visit the website. We have archived podcast shows, a forum, perspective writings, an events calendar, and recommendations. I would like to present to everyone Brother Mshinda, a lifelong friend and family member. Brother Mshinda works in the field of education and is a person of great talents in sports and community activism, just to name a few. He has always proven, he has always provided me with excellent guidance while growing up under him on the street. We grew up together on the same street, been knowing him all my life. So how you doing, Brother Mshinda?
I'm doing great, Brother Rasaki. I want to thank you for inviting me here tonight. I've been enjoying your shows, and I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate everybody that's present tonight.
Okay, good, good. Would you like to add to your introduction?
Well, just a little background, I guess. Just to be brief, for the sake of time. Uh, like you said, I have a background in education. I've worked in K through 12 for maybe 2 or 3 years, and also worked in. I'm working in a community college. Been working there almost 18 years. So prior to the educational scene, I worked in criminal justice, worked in juvenile halls, worked in casework, case management, um, ran institutions. So basically, that's where my experiences come from. Some of my experiences, but I just, again, I'm just happy to be here, and if I can shed any light, just let me know.
Okay. Well, I have a couple of questions for you, and then after
Yes, sir.
that, we'll open it up for our audience to ask some questions, and then they can also make comments at the end. So, okay, over the years, we have had many meaningful discussions, and our main topic this evening is self improvement. In our discussions, you often seem to have had a great impact on helping people improve themselves. What are some basic things people can do to improve themselves, Brother Mshinda?
Well, that's the magic question. I mean, I think we can all self improve. Like I said, there's no magic formula. I think basically it's the basic tenets that I've been introduced to. It's basic dedication. You have to have goals. So setting goals, in life is very important. And so, that's what we used to say back in the day when we hold on. I'm getting some interference. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Well, while we waiting on Brother Mshinda, I could kind of add to what he was saying. I teach my students a process called having a vision, being able to see exactly where you're going to be after you graduate high school or college. I always tell a story about when I was in junior high school, how I projected where I was going to be after high school, and everything I said came true, and it's a true story. I have a brother doctor here, and he can kind of attest to this. I was in the ninth grade, and I said that I was going to play Pac-10 basketball. In the ninth grade, I was a pretty good basketball player. And I said, not only am I going to play Pac-10 basketball, I'm going to beat UCLA and USC. And when I did go to college, I went on a basketball scholarship. And at Washington State University, we beat UCLA, even though I was sort of riding the bench. I got in at the end of the game. And then I transferred to Long Beach State, and we beat USC when I was playing at Long Beach State. So everything I said happened. I had that vision. So that's one thing some people could start doing, kind of realizing exactly what they want to do, and that gives them something to work towards. And in that process, there's a lot of work going to that too. So now I have Professor Amin Ra here this evening. So Professor Amin Ra, can you kind of speak a little bit about self-improvement?
Well, the number one thing is the person has to want to improve. It's hard to get people to improve themselves if they don't want to improve themselves. So that's the challenge, to get people motivated to see themselves and want to improve themselves or take themselves to a higher level. And when they see themselves, they got to see themselves where they are right now, and then have a vision for where they want to go, and have an understanding of what it's going to take to get there. The beautiful thing about you, Rigo, is you had talent, and you worked to improve that talent, and things fell into place. Most of the youth are not going to have athletic talent, so they have to see themselves in a different way if they're not, uh, you know, uh, already with a unique talent or skill that they're flourishing in, like you were in the ninth grade. Um, you know, so I just think that what we do as teachers is try to get young people to have a vision of where they are and what type of maturity they have to have in order to see that you're not going to be here forever. You're not going to be in my class forever. You're not going to be in my presence. You got to go out there and face the world. And your real test is how you flourish in the world. So struggle is going to be a challenge, because many youth have different conditions and reasons why some aren't motivated. Some are in foster homes, some may be getting not the type of motivation they need at their household. So, you have to deal with all those issues sometimes. So we as teachers sometimes be, depending on what level, from elementary to high school, be the closest thing to love that, a love that many of these youth get by the love we share for them and with them by giving them the wisdom that we have. So you pass on sacred knowledge and motivating knowledge while covering the subject. You're a math teacher, you teach them math, maybe last 10 minutes. Last 10 minutes, you give them some sacred knowledge that you hope will resonate in their minds and in their hearts. Because you got to win their heart and mind in order to be able to improve them. So, so those are some tactics I tried to use working with young people and working with adults too. Getting people to want to improve themselves, getting people to see that they can improve, and as you say, have a vision for where they want to go, either vocationally or academically or intellectually, through college or or develop short-term vocation or long-term vocation. So you're gonna be successful with some you're not gonna reach. Just a law of average that, you know, you're lucky if you get to 2 or 3 out of every 10. But that don't mean those 7 or 8 are not going to mature with someone else or just be late bloomers. And so, you know, but you did your job in trying to, you know, give them examples of what it took for you to improve yourself, what mindset, what maturity. You as a facilitator of knowledge must know, go where they are, understand their language, understand. You don't have to talk to them in that language, but understand the challenges that you faced. What I faced and what people that came after me faced is totally different. What these youth are going through today with regards to the lack of socialization from outside the house is different. When we walked the streets and felt free and never thought about a pandemic. So under this stress, you only can teach hope that this pandemic get under control, and then that they can make up for the lack of socialization and education that they would have received if they could have went to wood shop, electric shop, computer technology classes and things of this nature other than online, and grow up with peers and other youth that they can see do be successful. So that means that they can be successful. So there's a lot, you know, and hopefully they have parents and loved ones around that really care about them and watch their every move to give them the guidance so that they don't make a mistake that costs them their freedom or cost them their health. So that's what I do. That's what I see it.
Okay, appreciate that.
Hmm.
So we have Brother Doctor. Brother Doctor, can you unmute, please?
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay, and you, glad you're here this evening.
Well, I
So,
had a question. I had a quick question.
okay,
Uh, Mr. Amaraj just said, because you were talking about talent, vision, and he was saying that kids must realize when they don't have the talent and kind of focus on something else. And based on our society today, because you said something I said before, I was telling people, you know, our society got our kids focusing so much on sports and making it, getting drafted. When these kids get drafted, you know, first thing they get up there on their mic and they say, hey, you know, if I didn't make it here, I don't know what I was going to do in my life. That's all they dream for. And Mr. Amaraj just said, hey, you know, at one point you may not have a talent. And you kind of touched it. My question is, at what point as a parent, a coach, a friend, do you tell that kid, hey man, you just don't have the talent. Pursue something else. At what time would you tell a kid that? Or should you tell a kid that?
You asking me?
Yes.
I don't. I'm saying this, that I would never tell a kid who is in a program, maybe playing tennis, basketball, football, maybe a rapper or singer, that, you know, you don't have the talent. I would just tell them, go ahead and work hard, but at the same time, get you a backup plan. You know, have, you know, they used to say it's a poor rat that only have one hole to run into. And, you know, what you do is you say, hey, man, keep pursuing your dream, because while you're pursuing your dream, you know, you work on other things. Let me give you an example. If it's an athletic event, all right, maybe you should also pursue the academic skills, and maybe so you can get your teacher's credential and teach sports, or you may can coach as well as play. If you're a singer or artist, maybe you can write songs as well as perform them and get writing skills. And then at the same time, you talk to them about, while you're working on your goal, you have to work, you have to eat, So, I would just explain to them the challenges that they have in reaching their goal or developing their talent, because, if we're talking to young people in school, they got time to grow and develop talent. There are a lot of people who didn't have talent that went in high school and then didn't even play ball in high school and made it to the NBA. Later on, they grew exceptionally, or they all of a sudden developed the skills, or and the same thing in football, baseball, and track, if they're going to deal with sports. But if they're not going to deal with sports, I always say, sports is something you do. Singing is something you do. Uh, be happy with your ability to think and absorb knowledge and attain as much intellectual property as you can and value as you can, so that you have options. My son played football for Millikan High School, and he was offered scholarships, and he was all West Coast guard. But he said when he got out of school, he didn't want to play no more out of high school. Now, I didn't push him into sports, and he's a principal now. And he just said, I don't want to play no more. And he got into bodybuilding, got into his education, and he started teaching. He's found, hey, I like this. I like teaching. Then he saw the issues in public schools. He said, you know what? These principals don't know how to reach these kids. So, I'm gonna go and get my credentials and become a principal. And so he worked toward that end. But I thought he was gonna be in athletics. He was starting as a senior year. He was offered scholarships, and he didn't take none of them. I ended up having to pay for him to go to school. And plus he took out loans on his own, but still, I don't regret. Sometimes you got a lot of people. I remember there was a young man at Long Beach State, 6'11", good basketball player. He quit playing to be a rapper. Quit playing ball at 6'11". So people change on you. That's my point. So that's why change positively, and sometimes they change and it's successful. Sometimes they change and don't turn out the way they thought it would be. The 6'11" person never made it as a rapper, and so, but he never got back into basketball either. But I'm just trying to show you, when you're working with human beings, you can't count on them and you can't count them out. You never lose faith in them, and you just pray and hope that they just be good human beings, good family men, good family people, female and male, and that they have a vision that they're going to be good people that don't end up in street culture or drug culture or hustling culture, that they really have confidence in themselves that they could make it through life, just being a working person and happy as a family man. And that's a true success, some basic fundamentals like that. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's about what I see.
Well, can I add to that? So let me add to that. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when when I was coming up, we always had the title of student athlete. And looking back, I have to be honest, I was more like an athlete student. And then what I always encourage coaches to do, I encourage them to have a academic program that coincides with their athletic program. And I encourage coaches, to make sure that they emphasize academics just as much as they emphasize athletics. Because by me not being a student first or a student in conjunction, it took me a while to graduate from college, and I had a lot of bad study habits, and priorities was turned around. So I think that coaches have to focus on having a strong academic program alongside the athletic program. That way, the student will get the full spectrum versus just all sports. And then another point I wanted to make, I was asking, I have a math support class, the last class of the day, and I was asking the students, do they like themselves? And I got to one student and she said, I think so. So I had a conversation with her, and I have a conversation with all of my students. And the the point that she that keeps her from, you know, really liking herself all the time is she compares herself to other people with appearance. And I had to tell her that you can't help the way you look, but you can help the way you are. So I had to kind of break that down to her. And then her mother walked in and I explained to her mother what I was telling her. We can work on our person. We can't help the way we look. We're born the way we're born, but we can help the way we are. And then I broke it down for her. So I think that's a big thing right there, that people have either low self-esteem and they compare themselves to others, thinking that they should look like that or be like that. And I told her everybody's unique, you know. So that's something that I wanted to add to what we were talking about. Brother Mshinda, did you make it back?
Yeah, I've been back. I'm listening.
Okay, so jump right in,
Great,
Brother
great.
Mshinda. We was waiting on you.
No, you guys, I think you covered it where I was going, and you wrapped it up. But you know, uh, again, working in education, I had my philosophy is, you know, I'm gonna help somebody. I use the classroom or the office. I'm working in student affairs right now, but it's just a platform that I use in order to get my point across. I taught information technology for 14 years, but I used to say that I'm teaching life skills and mentoring, and we just happen to, and we're also going to learn something about computers. My main focus was trying to develop those other missing skill sets that are important, because I could teach them computers all day, but if they don't develop those survival skills, it's going to be moot. We have students who graduate all the time. They may have a C average, B average, and what have you, but not prepared to go into the workforce because they're missing a lot of the necessary skill sets, including communication skills, like you say, self-esteem skills, so forth. So I like to think that, when, and this is my take, I'm not into ruining anybody or judging any other educators, but I make the point that I believe, this is my belief, that if you're going to work in education or if you're going to work in criminal justice, you gotta have people in high regard. Like Dr. Ross say, the human being is a very, very complex being. The people that matriculate through this life, you know, they're affected and confronted with all kind of adversities and things like that. So when they come into my realm, and I'll just say my experience, you know, I understand that. So basically, um, I'm gonna have a fair, firm, and consistent approach with them. But at the same time, as I heard Dr. Ross say, you got to be able to communicate with them. You know, you don't have to become their friend. You know, if it's in your family, your children, they, you know, they're not your sibling; they're your children. But it's okay to have a friendship. It's okay to have a relationship, and so basically, that's where it all starts. So day one, you know, I taught, well, I did. I taught the in-school suspension class for a couple of years. And people thought, oh, wow, you know, that's going to be tough. Or, you know, you want to do that? I loved it because the kids that came to in-school suspension, um, not all of them, some of them did some mischievous things and never showed up again. But there were quite a few who returned back to the scene, and they came to me. And the way I conducted that class was, you know, I did a little intake process. I got their name, their parents' name, phone numbers, and let them know, hey, this is a program. You know, welcome to the program. And basically, I identified a lot of missing skill sets, a lot of life skills, a lot of survival skills. And so basically, I worked from there. You know, so I was more interested in help develop this human being, and then at the same time, when it came to mathematics and English and civics, I tutored them and mentored them on those subjects because I wasn't teaching those subjects, primarily. But I'm pretty well versed, I guess you could say, where I was able to give them some insight on their work as well. But I think systemically, those are the issues in society that we're dealing with. We see the fallout from the lack of involvement uh, in these children's lives. Um, I raised a son, went to all the football games, but I didn't just go to football games. I went to piano recitals. Uh, I went to I even attended church with them. I went to various events. We went on family, took them to, within your means, within your financial means, you try to provide some kind of recreation and support them, but you got to be consistent. And so that's part of then I took in a nephew, and the nephew didn't have a dad in the family, but we all know. I mean, my dad left when I was about 9, and I had a strong mother. But at the same time, you know, I it's not about judging those situations; it's just building on it. So, but the nephew's mother was fine, but I said, you know what? Come on in here, little nephew. And he stayed with me during the week and went to school in my neighborhood and things like that, and kind of showed him a few values. Now we're talking about sports. He wanted to play sports. He's not the most athletic individual, but I don't tell him that. Basically, I encouraged him to, stay in shape, because when you're playing sports, you get some exercise. You get away from the TV. You get away from the video games, and you're working out, and you're learning some learn how to work with a team. You're learning some basic you know survival skills and all kind of different skill sets when you're on a team. I played a lot of sports coming up, and I know what my coaches did for me, and I can reflect back in life up until this point in my life where I can name my coaches who had a major impact on my life. And so again, it's not, I heard I was back in the conversation. I was back in the conversation early when I took off. I had to change rooms. Excuse me for doing that, but you know, I just believe that you know we have a total responsibility as as a person on the earth to try to like the mission of this community education network, each one teach one. I believe that we have to go beyond. Everybody has a story, and we have to learn their story to a certain degree. I just happen to be, worked as a probation officer and a teacher. And so I developed some skill sets to be able to uh, move in and find out, hey, what makes you tick? What's your story? And basically, when I learn that, I know where to work from. And but when it comes to the 18 and under, of course, I bring the parents in, and I talk. It seems like I talk with the parents just as much as I talk to the youngster, and because if the parent is not on board, it's going to be a tough fight. And because these parents were once kids, and they were lacking skill sets, and they happen to have a child, and they have to move forward. Life is real time. You still got to move forward. So I enjoy inter you know interceding, bringing my what I bring to the table to the best of my ability to try to make that person as whole as possible. So self-improvement is just a general broad thing. And but we it's all about, some of the things that I'd be interested in is trying to build a value system, some structure, because a lot of them are lacking structure, and we're not just talking about youngsters, we're talking about adults as well. I have just as much experience working with youngsters as adults. And people will be surprised how many adults are lacking structure. And anyway, I can go on and on and on. I'm just kind of piggybacking off of what I just heard. I'm in agreement. That was a great question by the doctor, in terms of, where do you, when do you let that person know that, he's not going to make it? I don't think you tell a young kid or anybody not to pursue their dreams. I think, but at the same time, I think where Doc was going with that, and this is just me and my understanding, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it in your creative conversation, in your creative communication, you can let them down slowly and say, hey, we're talking about the guy that's headstrong. He's a junior in high school, and he's talking about playing for the Lakers, and he can't make free throws, and he's I get that, but at the same time, what else are you interested in? My little nephew, he's interested in diesel technology. Where I work at, we teach diesel technology. He's in the 8th grade, and he can tell you what turbo and all the other the industry jargon that's going along with diesel, because he's studying it on YouTube. He's not doing all fun and games. He's studying diesel technology on YouTube, because I told him, use it as a tool, not something as a weapon against yourself. And so what I'm saying is, he has the actual college book that they use at where I work at. The diesel technology teachers gave me a book, and I gave it to him. Okay. So my point is, we just got to build them up. We got to be involved, not just with the kids, but with the adults as well. And so I'm going to lay it on the table right there. If anybody have any questions, or let's move on.
Well, first of all, I want to commend you for, working with the young people you're working with, especially your nephew with the diesel. And it's good that he has you for a resource. Sometimes many of these youth, their peers have more influence than sometimes we do. And it depends on when we get to them. Are we able to break the monopoly the streets or their peers, or just their fantasies have on them? And so it's a struggle working. Like I said, if you can reach 3 out of every 10 youth you get, and motivate them to have options. And what I was saying, that no matter what talent you got, always have a backup plan. You can be the greatest person in the world, and a catastrophe could happen where you can't pursue that dream because of a physical impairment or an illness. So you always have to work toward the options, and sometimes people have to mature in order to see that, and then face reality by, like Rio was saying, he went up to Washington and he ended up on the bench and he got up out of there. You know, you sometimes reality hits you late. I'm just saying that you got to just have multiple options as far as not just one dream. Have a couple of dreams of what you want to be. And even your nephew, not only diesel technology, but how to drive the diesel, Big Macs and trucks, so that if he don't, if he, you know, whenever, you know, just have multiple options. That's all I'm saying. I think that the day young people, if they're into athletics or entertainment, they have people that are teaching them that. When we was coming along, it was total devotion to the sport. And that's what's going to get you through. The coaches will keep you eligible academically and you know, so you didn't worry about things. Coaches filled out your applications, they filled out your financial aid, they took over your whole life. But today, athlete, young people are a little bit more sharper, and parents are a little bit more sharper. And you can tell by some of the things many of these athletes doing out in the community and out, you know, with their services. And even some of the entertainers, they're doing some beautiful things as far as helping people. And many of them go and get degrees and educate and get themselves in and start youth programs and start like LeBron opening up a school. I mean, most athletes want to open up a club, a nightclub. We open up a school. That's a different vision, and they're building on the shoulders of the athletes that made mistakes, or building on the shoulders of athletes that like Paul Robeson and other conscious athletes that took position. So that's a beautiful thing. But because you're in student affairs, you're dealing with the average age in community college. Sometimes it's 30 or 33 when I was involved in community college. And sometimes there are students who got out of high school and, just didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, well, I'm gonna go back to school. But the point is that it's good that they have someone like you there at the college where you at that comes from the neighborhood and understand the psychological tendencies that they can have that they can still utilize the time that they have left on this earth to better themselves. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, Brother Gary,
Hey, how you doing?
okay, we're talking about self-improvement. And did you want to ask Brother Mshinda a question, or did you have a comment?
Well, basically, so far, I love what he's talking about because it's so real. I mean, I even told my kids today I told them that besides having just a degree, unless you have a degree that you can walk right into a career, it is also nice to have some sort of trade that you could do on the side. So if you can develop a trade while you're in college, or say before you go to college, would enable you to be able to work just in case your college career doesn't take off so fast. That way it enable you to be able to fall back on something and while you're waiting for the door to open. And same thing with the athlete. I agree 100% with that. When I came up, the name of the game was become a pro football or basketball player or entertainer or whatever it might be, and then you were going to get over. But no one thought about the thing that LeBron is doing today, like for example, like he said, taking money and open up a school, or people thinking about what else can I fall back on. A lot of us just all our energy went into the sport or the entertainment, and which is not, I mean, don't get me wrong, some people make it, but if you look at the percentage of people making it, the industry do not allow so many people, especially of color, to move in that fast. So we have to be very cautious of making sure that we have that backup. Because again, it can be a trade or something like that, will enable us to be able to sustain while we're trying to reach our final goals, our goals.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Okay, now, before we move on, uh, Sister Nige, Brother California, Sister Cherie, any of you guys have a question for Brother Mshinda regarding self-improvement? Okay, so let's go to the next question. One of our loyal community listeners is a first-time mom raising a boy. What is the advice you can give her about child rearing, Brother Mshinda?
Well, I think we just covered it, and just to rewind the tape, basically, from day one, it's all about keeping positive images in front of the youngster, you know, um, keeping tabs on what they're looking at on TV, keeping tabs on what they're eating, and those type of things, keeping tabs on their hygiene, and those, to name a few things. I think that it's very as simple as that. Every move they make, it is. We're not talking about crowding them or not giving them any room to breathe or anything like that, because some parents can be overbearing, and which can lead into negative situations. But at the same time, just being consistent, and eventually my belief is that, and we don't have any guarantees in life, because we all have war stories that we could tell. We could talk about how, I had a cousin who went to Catholic school all his life, and got a scholarship and football, and had a private university, and then end up going the other way, and he didn't have that to do, as they say. But so you never know the outcome. But Rico, Rasaki, you're a mathematician. So the law of averages, you have a better chance of making it in this world, becoming successful at something, um, leading a good life. You have a better chance if uh you follow those basic tenets. But again, it's work. Now, don't get me wrong, I heard Dr. Ross say that with about the peers. I have a old saying that, hey, I tell parents all the time. I said, no matter what you tell them, remember that you're competing against the world outside those doors, because once they leave your household and go to school, they're spending hours away from home. No tell, so if you're in a school where there's no structure, and there's kids that are out of control, and I don't mean it in a negative sense. I'm speaking within the framework of what we've been talking about, as far as lacking these skill sets. And what happens is, uh, kids tend to, some will migrate toward that, but some are intimidated or in fear, and they go along to get along. And so they won't be accosted, or it's all kind of, it's not one size fits all in that conversation. Again, this is a very broad situation, but at the end of the day, um, just that it used to be a commercial that came on TV back in the day, and I know some of you uh, uh, seasoned folks out there will remember. It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your kid is? Do you know where your child is? Do you know where your children are? That used to be a commercial on TV. I remember that. I'm quoting it right now. That was probably 40, 50 years ago. And so at the end of the day, um, it's just waking up that morning, and making sure that the basic needs are met, And sometimes we fall short. We might not have the funds. Well, there are resources out there. We gotta we gotta step up. And then once we meet those basic needs, we got to do follow up on a daily basis on their activity, that type of thing. And again, being a participant in their lives. And eventually, but love, that word love is huge. And you know they're going to feel that love. And when they feel that love, it's going to permeate. It's going to give them energy. The power of love gives you that power to want to be around. uh so at the end of the day, just uh remain fair, firm, and consistent, and be involved every chance you can be involved. And that's just the way I see it.
Okay, that's a good response. Do anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, I would love to add something, Rico. I think it's very beneficial. Raising 5 daughters, what I found really helped a lot. We did a lot of talking. As a matter of fact, we still do today. And we would talk about things that was positive, a lot of positive stuff, what you can get involved with, careers, if you want to, eventually acquire making a certain amount of income. Talked a lot about religion. I raised them in church, prayed a lot. But the main thing, I was always talking to them about various things that was, and they still, even like I said again today, they still talk to me a lot. And I think that communication a lot with your kid, discussing a lot of the topics he's already talked about, wrong and right, and a roadmap. I think that makes a difference because I tell you, out of 5 girls, I can't complain. I'm really blessed. All of them turned out to be really positive. Some of them, most of them, all of my college graduates. A few of them have masters, and they really doing well, and they feel as well as they raising their kids right. I don't have any complaints about my grandkids and everything. And I think a lot of it had to do with again sitting around, just doing a lot of talking, being involved with them, always knowing what's up. Now I didn't run behind them. I wasn't an over protective parent and ran behind my kids a lot. I would sit back and talk, for example, drugs. I would talk about drugs. I'll give an example. I say how people in the family feel, or friends of mine I know feel because they went the wrong route. On the other hand, I'll tell them about the things that people were successful because they went this route. So I gave them a lot of knowledge that I can give them about the streets, as well as life in general, about jobs, what they expect on job, what you name it. It's a lot of talking, and I think that made a difference.
Yes, that's excellent. Excellent. Uh,
Thank you.
Professor Rock?
Yeah, well, and appreciate what's been said, if I understand correctly. And I think both strategies of developing their children and influencing other children are excellent. But we always take the position from a standpoint that you have to challenge and cherish and challenge your children, no matter who they are. They can't just see you as ATMs. And it's good that young man raise his daughters and talk to them at regular family get-togethers where they discuss real life issues. Most people don't have that, and many youngs that we run into, their parents are, just wanted a baby, and they can be 12, 15, 16 years old, and that's still my baby. No, you have to raise them to mature. So family meetings, being involved in their life and life choices, winning their hearts and minds where they want to be around you more than they want to be in the streets. There's a lot of kids that are house kids already before the pandemic because parents were so afraid of the streets that in the neighborhood that they lived in. And a lot of parents scrape and scrounge to send their kids outside the neighborhood to schools. So it's not a one size fit all. There's a lot of challenges out there with young people, and that some of the mothers, the young men that they are with, if it's not the child's father, you know, it creates a lot of conflict. So we don't know what the circumstances are for every child, but there are some basic principles that you build into a child, no matter what your condition is at home, in your neighborhood. You got to struggle to be the best that you can be and get yourself in a situation where you can correct any issues that may be a problem, and don't let that hold you back. And if you got support, go further. And that's why the brother, that a young man that had the 5 kids, his kids not only got their degree, they went on to get masters. And so it's a lot of, like you said, love, interaction, and you really be in their life. You know, you know what classes they need to be taking in school. You don't just send them to school and then get mad at them when they come home, or don't know if they went to school and don't care about the absences, and then gonna cuss the school out because they send you a note home saying your kid ain't been to school. Why didn't you tell me 2 weeks ago? Why didn't you know 2 weeks ago? You know, I mean, there's a lot of issues out there. You know, it's hard to raise other people's children. It's like you're a teacher and you're doing your job, but the next teacher they go to ain't doing their job. And, you know, it's like, you know, when you're in captivity, you're always doing good. When you get out in the streets is when you go bad. So, you know, as long as you got that balance of academics, street, and wisdom, you can pretty much be successful with reaching young people. Yep. But if you imbalance yourself, you know, my way, no way, or, you know, just harsh and don't have communication skills, patience, love, and respect for what, you know, their situations, and able to win their confidence and support, that they come to you when they have problems and seek advice and direction because they may not be able to get it at home. I mean, that's a beautiful role you play in, and to be approachable, to be one that they can, the young people can say, hey, you know, let me call him, you know, let me call her and see, and bounce this off of them. You know, I want to go to the Navy. I'm gonna talk to the best teacher I got, you know, my best friend about it. I'm thinking about going to a trade school or something. You know, someone that's gonna give them some options because they can't get them no place else, or they don't trust the advice they're getting from somewhere else. So winning the trust, respect. I've seen teachers that are just able to win the hearts and minds of their whole class by just, hey, saying the last 10 minutes, we're gonna just sit here and discuss issues that you're facing on that campus. You know, the drugs, the gambling, the gangs, if you have that. If you don't have that, that's even better. But anyway, you know, you as a teacher must be as educated in your academic skills and skills that you are qualified to teach in, but you also have to have life skills yourself in order to teach young people about life skills. That's about it.
I love that. Great. That was great.
Okay, Rod, thanks a lot. Okay, so we could conclude this with questions. Anybody have any questions for Brother Mshinda?
He did a great job of summing it all up.
Yeah, you did an excellent job.
Okay, anybody have any comments this evening?
Well, I agree. One thing I just want to reiterate on is that I tried to set an example, my girl. But, you know, I talked about the trade. I was a gardener for years, and I didn't pick up my BA degree until I was 40 years old. And I picked up my master's at 52. So I gave all my kids a copy for my A degree, BA, and master's, a copy of these degrees. And say, at least match them or pass them. You might need this skill. I'm not saying that that's the only way, but at least with this skill, you got something you can fall back on. So I agree a lot what he was saying. I tried to, and again, even today, I'm going to just reiterate that when they have problems, they want to discuss things, they call me on the phone. They talk to me before they talk to their moms, you know, which is crazy. But it's just nice to know that they feel comfortable talking with me and we can discuss anything.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, anybody else? Brother Mshinda, would you like to say anything else before we leave this evening?
I just want to thank you for the platform. You're doing a great job. I think all the guests, all the people that are here on the line, obviously they're conscious folks, and I'm sure a lot of the things that was talked about they've heard before. Some things they probably didn't know or what have you. It's not like they say it's not a competition. We're just trying to spread, uh, you know, positive vibe, positive information, because, in the walks of life that we've been through and where we work at, we've seen a lot. And you got to be dedicated. You got to be, when you're on the front line, like they say, you got to be dedicated. It's not for everybody. And the ones that don't see it that way, there are other occupations for them out there, because there's a lot of systemic issues out there that we just discussed, a lot of positive things that are going on, by the way. And but at the same time, you know I'm out there reaching for the underdog, trying to uplift the underdog, trying to let them know that they are somebody and that they have a chance, they have potential, they can make it. And try to uplift people. And and that's what I'm here for. That's the job. I can go make money being I have a lot of computer skills, networking skills and things like that, but you know I enjoy this aspect of what I do. And I don't have a boring day. I don't mind going to work. And and like Dr. Ross said, there are other educated. And again, this is not to harp on that, but if you're not all in, you know, you got to get all in. Okay, I'm gonna say that. I won't say get out. You got to just get. You got to get in. You got to get in the game. Keep your head in the game. You know, make your free throws. Take care.
All right, Brother Mshinda. I
I
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
did
that's
want to
nice.
comment.
Okay, Sheree, go ahead, Sister Sheree.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. I know it's wrapping up, but I wanted to say that I was enlightened by all the responses, to the various questions, and it's some things that was stated that I could, see me benefiting from, based on the fact that I hadn't been to school in a while. Uh, I graduated college in 2007 with my bachelor's, but basically my point is you guys dropped a whole bunch of knowledge and rewoking some things in me that I actually, you know what I mean, forgot that I had already knew, or this has been buried in my brain and hadn't used them. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm glad that I was able to partake and be a participant in this segment of community network and education.
Yes, and I appreciate you coming. It's good that you come out and participate. The more the merrier, and I appreciate you coming out. And we talk, so I understand that you contribute on the back end at times. So that's excellent. So everybody, I appreciate everybody coming out. And next week we're going to have Brother Muko is going to be the featured guest, and we're going to talk about holidays. So it should be very interesting. Hopefully everybody be able to make it out. I know some of you guys are really into, the festivities of holidays, but we're going to talk about that, and it should be interesting. And again, I appreciate everybody coming out. And the theme of this show is each one teach one. So have a good evening, the rest of your evening, and I will talk to you soon.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Utah,
Definitely good night.
Night.
Utah.